Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World. My name's Anna Kalczyńska. Russia is spending hundreds of millions to buy Moldova's election. That's according to President Maia Sandu. The warning came after the country's police have made arrests as part of an organized clampdown on pro-Russian actors employed to sway the upcoming Sunday's parliamentary vote. Moldovans head to the polls this Sunday, and the outcome is not only about EU accession. Its implications for the rest of the continent's security and stability could be profound. I'm happy to welcome Vlad Lupan, former ambassador of Moldovan Ambassador to the United Nations. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for being with us here. Good to have you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invite.
So, in the propaganda campaign, Russia claims it's Europe that is preparing to, quote-unquote, occupy Moldova. We know how much effort is Kremlin investing in this election. So how strategically significant is Moldova to be of such an interest to Moscow?
It is strategically important because if Russian Federation is able to take over Moldova through elections, because it's unable to do so via military means, then Russia will stop the strategic transit of goods, strategic goods, through the Republic of Moldova. So it will cut off the communication between Ukraine and Moldova that exports some of and imports to Ukraine some of the strategic goods, but also Romania. So on the southwestern flank, basically, of Ukraine, that will create a blockade. So strategically speaking, remember that Zbigniew Brzezinski actually said that Russia without Ukraine is not an empire. Russia with Ukraine is automatically an empire. We see this imperial drive to restore its glory by the Russian Federation. Its primary objective now is Ukraine. Moldova serves as an extremely important point in this respect because it's going to stop that strategic goods transit, first. Second, in the Republic of Moldova, we already have in the east a tiny sliver of land that is controlled by Russia. It's a separatist territory that essentially is controlled by the Russian citizens. And they have been previously involved in unrests in Ukraine, in Odessa region. If a pro-Russian government comes to power, a government that basically owes to the Russian Federation. The pro-Russian political parties go to Moscow even now, these days, and we know that they are heavily sponsored by actors in Russia, which is illegal under Moldovan legislation. That means that this debt will have to be repaid. Obviously, the Transnistrian region in particular, the separatist region in eastern Moldova in particular, is going to serve as a modality to penetrate in southeastern Ukraine. Some times ago, I said that Russia is interested to distract some of the Ukrainian military from the eastern front towards the Transnistrian region, towards Moldova. Well, that can, of course, happen if a pro-Russian political party is going to come to that region. There is one more, even worse implication for NATO, because Moldovans are quite often dual citizens of both Romania and the Republic of Moldova based on our prior union. As an outcome, some of the Moldovans can essentially infiltrate into Romania and attempt to gain access to information about NATO from NATO, classified information from there. So that's an extension of Russian networks both into Ukraine and into Romania and the blockage of the transit. Therefore, for that reason, Moldova becomes a strategically important in this particular election that is coming on Sunday.
And how realistic is this pessimistic approach, this pessimistic scenario? You mentioned Transnistria. Indeed, the whole region is of strategic and military relevance. Russia already has around 1,500 troops stationed in Transnistria, a pro-Russian breakaway region. So on the Ukrainian border. So in case a pro-Russian government is established following such an outcome, pro-Russian outcome of this election, do you imagine that an escalation scenario could happen potentially?
I'm a former negotiator of the Transnistrian conflict. There is not just approximately 1,500 Russian troops in the Transnistrian region. The Transnistrian, so-called Transnistrian army, it's the second part of the former 14th army of Russia. So the 1,500 plus the Transnistrians were at a certain period of time the same army, the 14th army of Russia. They split in two, and they exercise currently various military exercises of related. When you follow these exercises, they basically say that they are repelling an enemy, they are attacking a certain region. The capacity is not, therefore the capacity is over 1,500. We probably can speak about close to 4,000, 5,000 people, a military force, combined military force, which happened to exercise together. We already know that, and we know that they were part of the same army, and sometimes they were even, and still some of them are even collocated in the same military units. So how realistic is a military scenario? That's partially realistic because the Russian Federation, what it is going to do in this kind of scenario, it is going to attempt to pressure probably mass a military on the border with Ukraine, therefore the point is to distract the forces from the east. The second is a non-military but intelligence related and particularly diversion related activity, and that is the Transnistrian region used as a launching ground for diversionary activities in the Odessa region in an attempt to destabilize that region. And the third element that we need to take into account, if there is a pro-Russian government coming to power in the Republic of Moldova, there is a higher chance that they will open for the possibility to host more Russian troops in the Republic of Moldova one way or another. Maybe not very openly, but through indirect overflights, through commercial flights, they will allow them to replenish
and potentially establish reserves. A new base. On the outskirts of the western
basically to grow
border.
The current base. Mm-hmm. They already have a base, and they will improve it and grow it, and from that base they will operate, as I previously mentioned, as an attempt to influence Ukraine, as well as to influence as much as it is possible, to infiltrate as much as it is possible.
Mr. Ambassador, coming back to this election politically, should Moldova pivot towards Moscow? Maia Sandu says that all Moldovans will suffer, regardless of their political affiliations. So, do you think that the EU has done enough? We understand that there are rural communities as well as there are communist sentiments still present, and so it's sort of a race against time. Many EU leaders have traveled to Moldova, to Chisinau, but have they done enough?
It takes time to build that positive image of the European Union. The European Union is the only organization, a group of countries that helped Moldova in its development. President Sandu also made a correct remark about one of the things earlier. Please remind me which countries or how much Russia actually did help Republic of Moldova. Were there any projects implemented by the Russian Federation? And the answer is none, zero. Russian Federation attempted to use gas as a political pressure tool over the Moldovan government. Russian government in 2023 attempted to organize protests and a coup against the current government, and the Ukrainian security services and Moldovan security services cooperated in order to stop that. So all of the activities of the Russian Federation were directed on undermining the Republic of Moldova. However, Moldova also has what we call an ethnic vote and a regional vote. The south of Moldova, particularly the Gagauz region, another minority in the south, has received an enormous amount of support from the European Union, but because of their internal domestic perceptions, as well as the heavy penetration of the Russian media and brainwashing, essentially, in that particular region by the Russian media, they are completely dedicated to Russia. They are a Turkic Christian community, which in some estimates is about 6% of the Moldovan population, and they do not view either Moldova proper or, let's say, Turkey as countries that might be, have some link to them. They view Russia as a positive actor because sometimes 200 years ago they were relocated from the Ottoman Empire to escape the prosecution against Christians. That's how they see it. So their dedication is historical. It's extremely difficult in their mind, for example. This is just one of the examples. There are also voters in the north who often go to work in the Russian Federation because during the Soviet time we have learned Russian. We speak Romanian language. Moldovan is the Romanian language. It's a Latin language, but we did study Russian during the Soviet time. So if you want to immediately gain some money for your family in the current economic difficult circumstances, one of the options would be to go to work in Russia. As those who left for Russia are heavily influenced by the Russian propaganda. They vote for the Russian favorites. So and they also influence those family members who are at home.
Absolutely.
Therefore, you have
Mr. Ambassador, just briefly, as we have to wrap up, if the election results turn to be unfavorable, how likely is it that the pro-Russian forces will not recognize them, calling them rigged, and what then?
It is very likely, of course. This is a standard modus operandi for these political parties and for Moscow. I expect that even before the elections are over, Moscow is not going to recognize them. This isn't new. What is important for the Republic of Moldova is to avoid a scenario in which we fall under the Russian influence and follow the Russian model in which the president decides whatever they want, or the political parties decide whatever they want. There is no stability like in the European Union. If we go to the European Union under this current government, with all its flaws that it does have, at least we are going to ensure that there is a positive future and possibly attempt in the next period of time to strengthen the country against Russian influence and propaganda.
Vlad Lupan, former Moldovan Ambassador to the United Nations, Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us here on TVP World. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks here on TVP World. Please stay tuned. There's more to come.